IGR from countries all over the world.
Where we at the National Office focus on going to congregation.
And as a child of God, as one who fear God,
the driver of our project.
We also like to know what the scheme is doing.
Independence Day is a very historic event in the.
It's a testimonial you need to acknowledge.
I want to know if there is any plan or program.
So it is only for Nigerians to doubt and go to the next level.
And to align the service, the price paid by consumers with the quality of service that they receive from the utilities. So the power outage reporting system will help us in a long way.
And there's many people inside. They are sleeping there, but they take some to hospital. They take them to hospital. Some are dead, some of their head has break, some are their leg, everything. They have taken them to hospital.
I'm not an abode for crime and criminals. My ancestral home was a forest, a thick Penkonkon mountain for safety from arrest, a home for hunting and farming in times of hunger and famine.
So I'm really looking forward to seeing where we can support the new House of Assembly and your agenda.
Join us next week, same time, same station. Your host, Folashade Abdusalam. Bye for now.
The legislative agenda of the Senate House is the barometer to monitor and evaluate.
Welcome, dear viewers, to another exciting episode of Abuja Weekly Report. I'm your host, Folashade Abdusalam. Tonight, we'll dive into Pulse of the Nation, which reveals from Abuja on the latest national headlines. From the corridors of power to the heart of the capital, we bring you stories that matter. This week, our nation grappled with pressing issues, witnessing a flurry of dialogues and interventions aimed at easing economic strains and tackling security challenges. Nigerians across all divides have voiced their concerns, urging the federal government to uphold its responsibilities, while the National Assembly took proactive steps to engage security chiefs in strategic discussions. Stay tuned as we dissect these critical issues and present comprehensive reports on tonight's episode. Join us for an enlightened discussion. President Bola Tinubu has reaffirmed his commitment to providing affordable housing for Nigerians, saying the vision of his administration is to create vibrant communities with modern amenities that would enhance the quality of life of all residents. The president gave the reassurance on Thursday when he performed the groundbreaking ceremony of a 3,112 housing unit Renewed Hope City in Kasana, Abuja. The Renewed Hope City project is part of a larger initiative to deliver 20,000 housing units in the Federal Capital Territory through a public-private partnership. President Tinubu further assured that the project will transform the housing landscape of the nation.
I pledge to Nigeria, my country, being faithful and committed to the economic development and prosperity of every one of you. We are given a little trust, but we build on that trust to assure you today, tomorrow, and day after of prosperity that we can create. Putting housing and the oblique corner of our vision is not the right thing. The best thing we are doing now is putting housing on the front burner.
Meanwhile, Minister of Housing and Urban Development Ahmed Dangiwa expressed satisfaction with the progress of the renewed Hope Cities, saying the project will bridge housing gaps in key cities across Nigeria. He also restated the commitment of the ministry to upgrading urban areas and addressing slum conditions nationwide.
And God willing, Mr. President, sir, we will make your renewed hope vision for housing a practical reality in terms of decent quality and affordable homes with infrastructure that support dignified living for our people in the Federal Capital Territory, the state capitals, and across the country. That's why we have planned and commenced actualization of the vision under the Renewed Hope Cities and Estate Development Program, which Your Excellency is officially launching today. Under Phase 1, Your Excellency, we plan to deliver a total of 50,000 housing units across Nigeria. The cities will have 1,000 housing units per site in one location in each of the cities of local zones of the country and FCT, while the estate will have 500 housing units per site in the remaining 30 states.
President Bola Tinubu has called for heightened efforts from the Nigerian military and security agencies in tackling the country's security challenges. The president gave the charge on Tuesday at the induction ceremony of the Nigerian Air Force Base, Makurdi, Benue State. President Tinubu, who was represented by Vice President Kashim Shettima, expressed commitment to bolstering the nation's security force with the induction of new aircraft, enhancing the ability to combat terrorism and insurgency. Meanwhile, Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Hassan Abubakar, noted that the acquisition of the helicopters and aircraft underscores the government's dedication to equipping the nation's air force for the challenges ahead. The Minister of Defense, Mohammed Badaru, said the induction marks President Tinubu's determination to strengthen the armed forces in the fight against insecurity. Vice President Kashim Shettima has called for an immediate action from the nation's development partners on the Special Agro-Industrial Processing Zone to ensure food security, while appreciating efforts of the African Development Bank and the United Nations Industrial Development Organization on status of their projects in Nigeria. Shettima called for swift actions on special agro-industrial processing zones for the benefit of Nigerians. The senior special advisor to the president on industrialization, Professor Banji Oyelaron Oyenyinka, disclosed that the African Development Bank is ready to disburse $540 million loan for the development of SAPs, focusing on inclusive and sustainable agro-industrial development. Professor Oyelaron Oyenyinka further stated that 8 states are in the first phase where SAPs will be implemented. The states include Cross River, Imo, Kaduna, Kano, Kwara, Ogun, Oyo, and the Federal Capital Territory.
We came, as you have heard, to thank His Excellency and Vice President on his support to the Emergency Food Production Program of the country, also known as the National Agricultural Growth Scheme. The Vice President was instrumental in the import of wheat seeds and also instrumental in the launch of this program. As you've heard, 120,000 hectares of wheat that was planted. This is the first step. We hope to go all the way to 1 million hectares and then completely have 100% production of the wheat we consume, so we don't have to import wheat. But beyond that, we also came to ask for His Excellency's support for the subsequent programs: rice, cassava, maize, sorghum, because the bank is supporting the country with $134 million. We have disbursed the first tranche of the $100 million. The subsequent tranches will be disbursed this year. But we really want to make sure that we support Nigeria in her drive for food sufficiency, in our drive to bring down the food price inflation, and also in our drive to reduce rural poverty. We all know that rural poverty is tied to the farmers not being able to get high yield and good prices for their products. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, has unveiled a proposed Young Farmers Club for public schools in each state of the Federation. Senator Oluremi Tinubu performed the groundbreaking initiative on Monday at her maiden meeting with the wives of state governors at the State House, Abuja, under the umbrella of the Renewed Hope Initiative. She said the initiative aims at empowering the youth and promoting food security across the nation. Senator Tinubu therefore urged all state governors' wives to stand together to champion the scheme and support the youth in agricultural endeavors for the betterment of the nation. She further disclosed that the National Agricultural Land Development Authority, in partnership with the Renewed Hope Initiative, will support additional 80 women farmers from each state with the provision of training and capacity building, agricultural inputs, and to buy up all produce from the farms after harvest. Mrs. Tinubu additionally announced the reintroduction of alternative high schools for girls to provide opportunities to those who have dropped out to return to school. She pledged to work with the Ministry of Education to revitalize these special intervention schools to ensure no one is left behind.
Federal government have taken the lead. With what Lagos has done, they've taken the lead. Their schools are bigger. Bauchi, the First Lady of Bauchi, is very excited when she came to me. We have a similar school. I said, this is good. And so the Minister for Education will be listening to us, and I pray he hears very well. We should merge the schools they should have should be called Alternative High School for Girls, because the school have creche. In each of the schools, they have a creche where the children can go, and the one the federal government built actually has a nursery school. So you can see it's like a one-stop school that the girls, because most of these girls, their parents don't want to help them until they only help those who are successful. In the Nigerian climb, once you fail, it's like, oh, you are done. But we believe that the girls deserve better.
At an interactive session with the Senate Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions on Friday, the Central Bank Governor, Yemi Cardoso, announced the $1 billion injection in liquidity to address concerns about the economy and depreciation of the Naira. Cardoso added that the influx of over $1 billion in the past days through the CBN has notably boosted the foreign exchange market, and that it further demonstrates the efficacy of government's policies. While noting that the surge in foreign exchange trade surpasses previous records, the Apex Bank's governor assured decline in inflation this year, utilizing inflation targeting framework with projections moderating to 21.1%.
However, as I have mentioned in previous engagement, these costs are temporary, and our decisions will address a lot of fundamental issues involving Nigeria's macroeconomic landscape and ultimately put us on a surer path to prosperity. What do I mean by this in addition to everything else? It is that the monetary side can do so much. The fiscal side also has a major part to play. The monetary side does help in cushioning the volatility.
With the CBN's commitment to addressing economic challenges, the Senate called for swift and decisive measures to safeguard the nation's economy and restore confidence in the economy.
On the demand side of managing inflation, today the money supply is estimated at close to about 75 trillion and thereabout. But we all know that embedded in that 75 trillion, we have a 30 trillion ways and means that ordinarily should have been, it's a temporary arrangement that should have been paid. But what we have in our hands is that we have structured it into a 40-year instrument at a subdued interest rate of 9%. These are part of what is creating the distortions in the economy. So the question is, how do we deal with this?
Yes, I know it's a big market. Supply demands will now be able to dictate what your policy should be. Will you be right to say that the exchange rate today we're paying is commensurate to the demands? If it is, in what sector? The most important sector is agriculture. When people are hungry, that means it's not working. I take one simple example with Toyota vehicles. Who want to look at the number of Toyota vehicles in this country? Do we manufacture Toyota vehicles? How much foreign exchange do we pay for Toyota vehicles? Do we have a policy that will make backward integration to work by making Toyota come back here and make an assembly plant that will serve Nigeria and the South West African regions? Look at our population.
The cost of dollar. Are we going to dollarize the country? The answer is no. We must go back to abolish the use of dollar. Using of dollar in any shop, in any hotel, in any place in Nigeria should be an abomination. Nobody should use dollar for any transaction in Nigeria. Nobody should receive with dollar, except the authorized dealers. In South Africa, nobody buys anything with dollars. I can see 3 shops in Abuja putting their goods to be bought by dollars. So what have you done? Specifically, you have in terms of encouraging FDI, because with where we are now, there's no foreign direct investment that will come to Nigeria. I'm very positive people are leaving. And what effort have you made to bring to book those $2.7 billion that you say that they forged the documents? Who are the Nigerians that forged these documents? You must bring them to the book.
The highly appreciated meeting between senators and the country's security chiefs had been shifted due to the absence of key intelligence head. However, a handful of the invited security chiefs arrived at the Senate to address the escalating insecurity across the nation. Amongst the officers present were Taurid Lagbaja, the Chief of Army Staff, Emmanuel Ogala, Chief of Naval Staff, and Hassan Abubakar, Chief of Air Staff. Also in attendance were Kayode Egbetokun, the Inspector General of Police, and Yusuf Bichi, Director General of the Department of State Services. However, the meeting was shifted to February 13th to accommodate heads of other intelligence agencies. Senate President Godswill Akpabio, speaking during Wednesday's plenary, announced the decision, emphasizing the importance of including all stakeholders in the discussion. Senator Akpabio instructed the Senate clerk to expand the invitee list to include all service chiefs, the National Security Advisor, Finance Minister, Interior Minister, Defense Minister, Minister of State for Defense. Senator Akpabio instructed the Senate clerk to expand the invitee list to include all service chiefs, the National Security Advisor, Finance Minister, Interior Minister, Defense Minister, Minister of State for Defense, and the Minister of Police Affairs.
The clerk of the Senate has directed accordingly that you further invite the National Security Advisor, the Minister of Defense, the Minister of State Defense, the Minister of Police Affairs, the Minister of State Police Affairs, the Chief of Defense Staff, National Security Advisor, and of course, the DG NIA, Minister of Interior, Minister of Finance, and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, in addition to the service chiefs who have honored the invitation of the Senate. It's important to know that we represent the Nigerian people, and we can only do the will of the Nigerian people. And our job is to complement the efforts of the executive, and then also to assist the executive to succeed. Because if the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu does not succeed, it means that we have all failed. It means that Nigeria has failed. So the Senate will agree with me in view of the fact that the people we have mentioned are not here, the personnel we have mentioned are not here, and we need their presence to have a holistic and complete discussion on the security situation in the country. So is it the view of the Senate that this be moved to Tuesday, the 13th day of February 2023? Those in support say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
The rescheduled security briefing, which might be held behind closed doors, is expected to address rising cases of terrorism, kidnapping, and banditry. In a statement by the National Commissioner and Chairman, Information and Voters Education, Sam Olumekun, said a total of 16 political parties will participate in the Edo State governorship elections. The parties have indicated their chosen models and dates for primary. Olumekun emphasized that primaries must be held within Edo State boundaries, as outlined in the Electoral Act 2022, adding that under Section 82, subsection 1 of the Electoral Act 2022, political parties must notify INEC at least 21 days prior to their primary elections. INEC therefore urged political parties to strictly adhere to electoral laws to avoid any disruption or irregularities. Meanwhile, the Commission has released the timetable and schedule of activities for the Edo State off-cycle governorship elections on its official websites and social media platforms. Primary elections for the participating parties are scheduled to take place from the 1st to the 24th of February 2024. In a related news, INEC has announced supplementary elections in Taraba State, 15 polling units in Jalingo, 7 in Yaro, 2 in Zinc. The election will hold on February 14th. Also, another election is scheduled to hold in one state constituency in Enugu South on the same day. The Inspector General of Police, Olukayode Egbetokun, has reiterated the unwavering commitment of the force in tackling crimes and insecurity nationwide. Speaking at the IGP conference alongside strategic police managers, the IG highlighted the recent achievements of the force across all 36 states of the Federation and the FCT over the past 7 weeks. Additionally, both the police force and the correctional service have honored fallen officers who made the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty by providing death benefits for their families. For more on these developments and other stories making headlines, let's turn to Esther Olajide for the details. Don't go away.
The Inspector General of Police, IGP Olukayode Egbetokun, has reaffirmed the commitment of the force under his leadership in combating crimes and insecurity in the country. Speaking at a press conference on Thursday in Abuja, IGP Egbetokun said that the police force remains resolute in addressing security challenges that face the nation, stating that the force is committed toward ensuring effective service delivery that will help address resolving security challenges. He therefore gave his reassurance while reeling out the achievements of the force across the 36 states in the Federation, including the FCT, in the last 7 weeks during the IGP conference with strategic police managers.
Following from our last meeting held on the 18th of December 2024, I am pleased to report that substantial progress has been recorded, driven by the implementation of various strategies to address the rising wave of crimes in the country. Of particular significance is the launch of the Special Intervention Squad, SIS, in the FCT, which has started to yield positive dividends as highlighted later in this address. Significant strides have also been made in maintaining law and order, combating criminal activities, including but not limited to kidnapping, armed robbery, banditry, insurgency, and secessionist groups. The commendable level of success attained reflects our collective dedication, resilience, and tenacity, which have played a pivotal role in achieving positive outcomes and fostering a safer environment for our citizens. During this period, we recorded 35 cases of terrorism/secessionist attacks, 302 cases of murder, 111 cases of armed robbery, 172 cases of kidnapping, 67 cases of banditry, and 15 cases of unlawful possession of firearms. By executing some of the strategies and plans formulated at the last conference, the Nigerian Police Force arrested 814 suspects for their participation in various crimes, rescued 107 kidnapped victims, and recovered 106 various firearms, 1,074 ammunition, and 41 vehicles. That, apart from highlighting and celebrating our wins and achievements during the period under review, we must also seize this opportunity to reflect upon our shortcomings and obvious gaps in our performance.
In another development, the Nigeria Correctional Service has presented over 78.100 million naira to 924 retirees' families of issues, the disease and medicals for injured officers. Controller General of the service, Haliru Nababa, made the presentation on Wednesday at the NCOS headquarters in Abuja. Nababa, who was represented by Assistant Controller General Sylvester Ndidi, however, appreciates insurance brokers, underwriters, and contributors for their continuous sacrifice and understanding. He hoped for a long-standing partnership.
This year's theme, Renewed Hope Agenda and the Impact of Correctional Welfare Insurance Scheme on the NCOS family, is apt and quite instructive. The theme clearly presents the real essence of the scheme as a beacon of respite, support, and succor for its members. It is not in doubt that the current global economic realities, particularly in our nation, are not too pleasant to most families. This is why we are now more than ever before inspired and focused to ensure that we grow and keep the scheme at an optimal performance level. Over time, my administration has continued to emphasize the importance of staff welfare in our drive to move the service to higher heights. This is a product of our conviction that without a highly motivated workforce, not so much can be achieved in any organization.
The Secretary Correctional Welfare Insurance Scheme, Hannatu Zubeiru, stated that CWIS has come to stay as a dependable line of welfare support to all members and their families at crucial times.
It is my distinct honor and privilege to graciously welcome you to this auspicious 18th anniversary workshop of the Correctional Welfare Insurance Scheme. We have made it a priority to always leverage our anniversary workshops to x-ray current economic realities with a view to helping our members adapt easily. The reason for this is not far-fetched, knowing that socio-economic dynamics have direct impact on staff welfare and performance. As a matter of fact, the well-being and prosperity of members is the key driver of any welfare scheme that will have a lasting impact. This is why we have remained focused on the path of resilience, discipline, innovation, and unwavering dedication all these years.
Furthermore, the Action Democratic Party, ADP, has lauded the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, for their efforts in conducting a peaceful and fair by-election in 26 states and 80 local government areas. The national chairman of ADP, Ayagbagi Sani, made this commendation on Tuesday while addressing journalists in Abuja. Ayagbagi also congratulated the winner of the Just North Central District election, Pam Dachuyang, who emerged victorious with 122,442 votes, beating 9 other candidates in the election in Plateau State last Saturday.
We give kudos to INEC for being firm and ensuring that the forces against democracy do not prevail. ADP is particularly happy with INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, and all permanent and ad hoc staff of the Commission for the successful conduct of the election in Jos North Central District of Plateau State, where our party won a Senate seat. We are indeed pleased to note that the election was free, fair, credible, and peaceful, so we commend INEC for its dedication to upholding the democratic process. At the end of the elections, winners emerged in the various constituencies. We congratulate them. We also congratulate Nigerians who have always stood against all odds, ensuring that our hard-earned democracy does not suffer. Our democracy has passed through a tortuous route at each time of election. Tempers are high. There are palpable fears and anxieties. Yet, with resilience and unwavering faith of our Democrats, we always triumph in the midst of all trepidations. It must be noted that most of the runs were a product of undemocratic and incredibly backstage machinations to subvert the will of our people.
The Universal Basic Education Commission has raised alarm on the growing rate of learning crisis in Nigeria, noting that the future of the country depends on how this learning crisis is tackled. UBEC therefore called for urgent actions to address this crisis in order to ensure every child has access to quality education. Miriam Enahime brings the story.
The Executive Secretary of the Universal Basic Education Commission, UBEC, Dr. Hamid Boboyi, said Nigeria is experiencing a severe learning crisis that requires immediate action to address. Speaking at the two-day stakeholders dialogue on reading initiative in the UBE program and the use of mother tongue language of immediate environment as medium of instruction in Abuja, Boboyi stressed that the learning crisis is not immediately addressed. It would hinder Nigeria from achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. The UBEC boss, who cited a report by the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, and the United Nations Junior Funds, UNICEF, said approximately 3 out of 4 children of basic education age 6 to 14 years in Nigeria cannot read the text with understanding or solve simple mathematics problems. It therefore urged stakeholders at the dialogue to frankly discuss and come up with actionable steps that will not only help UBEC but also stakeholders in eliminating the situation.
UBEC is bringing the stakeholders together to see how can we implement these policies and this policy, and how can we make sure that what happened earlier in the 90s do not repeat themselves, to make sure again that our children at the local level can read, can write, and can function as literate citizens of Nigeria. You can discuss that with the Executive Secretary of NRDC, but we are talking of the language of wider communication in the area. It's a challenge to all of us as educationists, as policymakers, to see how do we make sure that if, for example, we have a group of villagers that speak a particular language, then we'll be able to teach the children in that particular language. Of course, it's a logistic problem that we have to address, but I think working together, we believe we can achieve that particular objective.
In a keynote address, the Executive Secretary of Nigerian Educational Research and Development Council, Professor Ismail Junaidu, called for implementation of the National Language Policy. Junaidu disclosed that the policy, which prescribed the use of mother tongue or language of immediate environment as medium of instruction in basic school was approved in 2022 and allowed the use of mother tongue to teach even up to primary 6. While stating that no language should be left out, it said over 60 language orthography or written system have been developed, adding that after developing their orthography, the curriculum for teaching the language needs to be developed also for implementation. It called on relevant bodies to intensify sensitization, produce more instructional materials, build capacity of teachers and implementing partners, as well as ensure partnership between agency and development partners for proper implementation of the policy.
Any language better than another. All languages are equal in terms of delivery, in terms of whatever they do. So that is why this policy, when you go through it, I would encourage you to go through. There are implementation at all levels, up to local government roles a government will play in the implementation, role state government will play, role the federal, it's all. So there is no language that should be. We have the will. We start. Why not? You see, the issue is start. See, for example, now I can tell you we have over getting to about 60-something languages that we have developed their orthographies, and we continue. Just last week also, we printed for about 4 languages. That's the beginning. When you now have the orthography, the writing system for a particular language, they now develop their own curriculum for teaching the language. They produce the materials. It's not only relying on government. The community too must come in because they are the custodians of the culture. They are the ones. You don't have to wait. Now communities approach us. We want to develop our language. We give them the technical assistance. They develop up to the curriculum. Once you do that, it's our own thing to take it up to WAEC and NECO.
Marian Enahimion, Mitv Abuja.
This is where we end today's edition of your exciting program. Thanks for watching. Join us next week for another edition. Same time and of course, same station. I remain your host for Lashade Abdusalami, MITV Abuja. Hello viewers, I welcome you to this edition of our program, Abuja Weekly File. I'm Lashade Abdusalami.
The legislative agenda of the 10th House is the barometer to monitor and evaluate.
By raising our IGR from partisan overall.
Where we at the National Office will focus on going to conclusion.
And as a child of God, as one who fears God,
the driver of our project.
We also like to know what the scheme is doing.
Independence Day is a very historic event in the.
It's a testimonial you need to acknowledge.
I want to know if there is any plan or program.
So it is only for Nigerians to doubt and go to the next level.
And to align the service, the price paid by consumers with the quality of service that they receive from the utilities. So the power outage reporting system will help us in a long way.
And there's many people inside. They are sleeping there, but they take some to hospital. They take them to hospital. Some are dead, some their head has break, some are their leg, everything. They have taken them to hospital.
I'm not an abode for crime and criminals. My ancestral home was a forest, a thick Penkunkun mountain for safety from arrest, a home for hunting and farming in times of hunger and famine.
So I'm really looking forward to seeing where we can support the new House of Assembly and your agenda.
Join us next week, same time, same station. Your host, Folashade Abdusalami. Bye for now.
The legislative agenda of the 10th House is the barometer to monitor and evaluate